So, with the Euros coming up and international squads starting to be announced for the tournament, I thought that I might as well go through my England squad for the Euros, or what I would pick, and then also who I would start in the tournament. So, I've got a list of players here. It's kind of, I would assume, the players that are all in the hat to go. I don't think I missed anyone out. I might have done, but it's what it is. So yeah, I'll go through one by one, tell you whether I think they should be starting, whether they should go, what role they'll play, or if they should just stay at home. So we'll start off with the goalies. The first goalie, Ian Henderson. Um, so I think he's a decent goalie. So I would put him in my top three English goalkeepers, and I think taking three goalies is like the standard thing to do for international tournaments. So for that reason, he'll go for me. But I don't think he's good enough to be England number one personally. I think the reason why people think that he is less about how good he is as a goalie, but more about how they don't trust Jordan Pickford. Um, I don't think he's particularly good. It was a game against Liverpool recently. He looked awful. Um, looked like he had a good season last year with Sheffield United, but in the big games with the big teams, that's where you can separate, the top players from the decent players. So he'll go purely because we don't have any options in goal, and he probably is in the top three English goalkeepers, but he doesn't start for me. And I think pretty much the same can be said for Nick Pope. I think he's a good goalie, good Premier League level goalie. I don't think he's good enough to be England number one. I don't think, again, people that think he should be number one, I don't think it's based on his qualities as a goalie, more about the fear of Jordan Pickford. But again, he's a top three England goalie, so I take him. Sam Johnston, I think, pretty much the same, right? He's a decent goalie, good Premier League standard goalkeeper, I would say. He's had quite a good year, but sometimes it's easier to look good playing for teams at the bottom of the table. What matters is when you play for top teams and you might only have one or two saves to make, and you have to make them. Yeah, I don't think he's that sort of level, so you can stay at home. Jordan Pickford, I think, should remain England number one. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't. He had a good World Cup. That's another thing. He's always played well for England, which is a big factor, I think, when it comes to picking a team. I've never seen him not play off England. He's made plenty of horrendous mistakes for Everton, but then so have Henderson, Pope, every other goalie. Uh, I don't see anyone that's done enough to warrant replacing him. So Jordan Pickford, he'll be my England number one going into the tournament. So Alex McCarthy, again, good Premier League level goalie, not good enough for England. And I would say the same with Carl Darlow. Good Premier League level goalkeeper, shouldn't be going. I think most people would agree with that assessment of those two. So on to defenders now. Trent, I don't think anyone would disagree. He's probably our most technically gifted defender. But at the same time, that comes at a cost. He's not the best defensively. 1v1 or spatially aware. Like, he gets beaten quite a lot. His recovery isn't as good because he's not as strong as some of the other right backs. And the thing is, we've got so many attacking players in the England squad. Do we really need a right back who is good at attacking but not so good at defending? I don't think so. I think he has to go purely because he's a top quality player. So I'll take him. Good person to have available in your squad if called upon. But I'd rather have four defenders that can defend, especially because we're quite light in terms of defenders. So yeah, he doesn't start for me. Controversial maybe, but I think Southgate would agree. Not that that's anything to go by because I probably disagree with a lot of things he would do. But yeah, he goes, doesn't start. The left back position is a bit of a trickier one because I think over the past 2, 3 seasons, Chilwell has been England's best left back, most consistent. He got a big move to Chelsea in the summer, and I think he's adapted to playing at top level really well. He's put in good performances in the Champions League. There was a spell when Lampard got sacked, Tuchel came in, where he was out of the team. Then he's earned his place back in, and he's done really well. Scored an important goal in the Champions League. Even though it was to no avail in the FA Cup final, he came on, hit the post, scored the goal that was disallowed, changed the game. So I think based on the fact, I think he's England's best left back in terms of ability. He starts left back for me. Obviously, the other candidate, Luke Shaw, I'll get onto in a second. I'll explain why. But yeah, Chilwell, I think, is our best left back, so I would start him. The right back, so obviously I said Trent's not starting, so there's a few other options at right back. Kyle Walker is the next one. And I think Kyle Walker has been so consistent over coming up to 10 years now? How long ago did he win PFA Young Player of the Year? And he's been consistently performing week in, week out in the Premier League, Champions League, for England. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want to start Kyle Walker. He's got a good balance of going forward. I do think he's good going forward. But defensively, he's pretty well rounded. He makes mistakes, as does everyone. But he's so fast and strong. His recovery is crazy. I personally think there's no reason why Kyle Walker shouldn't play. I think he's the most well-rounded right back we've got. He's used to playing on big occasions. There's no reason, why. A lot of people think Reece James should play or Trent. He kind of gets forgotten about Walker, which I think is quite strange because I think he's been a world-class right back for quite a few years. So he goes straight in for me. So Luke Shaw, obviously, I said Chilwell starts for me. I think Luke Shaw's come a long way. He had some poor seasons over the past few years, but this year he's done really well. I think United signed the other left back, Telles, and having to fight for his place has obviously re-sparked that hunger, and he's played really well. Probably, arguably, a better season than Chilwell, I would say. He's probably our most informed left back. But in terms of ability, I still think Chilwell's better. And it's been proven over the past 3-4 seasons, I would say. So, again, if Luke Shaw played, I wouldn't argue because he's heavily on form and he's a very good left back currently. But I still think about how he was in the past couple of years where Mourinho called him fat and said Mourinho was the mind and he was the body. That still comes to mind. So, which I think Chilwell's just more well-rounded. I can see that changing in the tournament. So maybe one game Chilwell starts, one game Luke Shaw starts. I'm not too fussed either way. I'm 50-50. But naturally, the guy goes. So, good option to have. So Reece James, I think, has probably been our most improved right back. He's had a pretty good season. I like the fact that he's played right centre-back, right back, and right wing-back this season. So he's versatile. He's got the same sort of attributes as Walker in that he's strong and fast, so his recovery is good. And he puts in a very good ball. So we talk about Trent going forward. Reece James puts in a very good cross as well. So I like him a lot. I think in a lot of other past England teams, he would be starting, especially if you're looking to the future, because he's so young as well. But I still think Kyle Walker is a better right back currently. And if we're looking to win this tournament, we need a reliable right back, reliable defenders. There's a balance of picking your best team and looking to the future. I think this is a sort of tournament where we've got a good chance of winning, so we kind of should be playing our best players rather than, look to the future. In the previous World Cup, I remember we didn't take Ashley Cole and we went with Luke Shaw, looking to the future because it was unlisted that we'd win. This is sort of tournament where there's a good chance we can win, so our best players have to go, in my opinion. Reece James, yeah, good option to have on the bench. I like him a lot. Not quite good enough to start. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So I've already picked 3 right backs. So based on that, I wouldn't pick him. On top of that, I do think people clutch at straws when they say he's the best right back for England defensively. His 1v1 tackling is great. I'm not going to deny that. But I still see him get caught out a lot. I don't think tactically he's not as good. He gets caught out quite a lot at United. And going forward, he just doesn't offer anything really. I know because we've got so many attacking players, it makes sense to have someone that can defend. So I'm not too fussed that he can't really attack. He'd be in the team purely to defend. But yeah, I still don't think he's as good as people make out. Like people will probably disagree with me, but yeah, I've seen United get caught out a lot, and I've seen him being at the heart of it. Not doubting his like tackling abilities and 1v1 defending because I think it's probably the best in the Premier League. But there's more to defending than tackling, slide tackling. So unfortunately, he misses out, which is a shame because he's good. He'll probably end up playing for a different country. I know he's got the option to play from a couple nations, so he should probably do that. So then next we've got Kieran Trippier, who played a prominent role in the last international tournament, the World Cup, and he played really well. I think he was even in the team of the tournament. He was that well. Scored the goal in the semi-final. Scored in the penalty shootout against Colombia. So he does, a special place in my heart for Kieran Trippier. But he did miss quite a chunk of the season due to his, the betting scandal or whatever. And I think we're so stacked at right back that I wouldn't feel right picking him based on past performances for England over Walker, Trent, or Reece James. It'd be good to find a spot for him, but you don't want to take 4 or 5 right backs to a tournament. So, fortunately, he'd miss out for me. So yeah, Bukayo Saka. So this might be a controversial pick, but for me, I would take him. He goes for me purely because of his, a few reasons. He's versatile. I've seen him play left back. He played right back recently. He can play forward. It's good to have players that can play in various positions in a squad of select players. And on top of that, young. He's been Arsenal's best player this year. Probably the only good thing about their season has been his performances. So it's not like he's going just because he can play in multiple positions. He's going because he's generally a top England international player. So yeah, I'm happy to take him. Be good experience for him as well. He goes for me. There might be some other players that I don't put in because he's there, but that's my call that I would make. Aaron Creswell. Again, I've got 2 left backs picked. I've got Saka who can play there. I don't need any more left backs in my squad. He's a good player. He's had a very good year, I would say. I think he's a good Premier League level left back. I don't think he's international quality personally. So stays at home. Harry Maguire. I think hurts me to say it, but he's probably our best centre back that England have. He's obviously very important to Man United. Without him, they look half the team. That's why he plays basically every minute for them when fit. He had a good World Cup, the last World Cup as well. So he's clearly a very good player. I wouldn't go over the top to say he's like world class. I think in previous England teams with the likes of Terry and Ferdinand, I don't think he'd get into that team. But based on our current team, he's our best centre back. So he definitely has to start. Going back to the left back debate, having Luke Shaw there might benefit him more because they're used to playing next to each other for Man United. So that's another reason why you might want Shaw in. But I stand by my pick to have Chilwell in the team. Going on to the other centre backs. Again, like there's so many average centre backs that we're talking about purely because we're so short there. So someone like Mings, I don't think he's particularly great. He's had a decent season for Aston Villa. I think last year was tough, more tough for him. This year, as a team, they've been a lot better. They've got a much better goalie now, better squad depth, and that's helped him as well. So he's had a good year. He's probably in our top, 4 or 5 centre backs for the country, and he's played for England quite a few times now. So no reason why he shouldn't go to the Euros. Michael Keane, I think he's played well for Everton, but I wouldn't take him just because I think there's probably a few better options than him. Plus, I'm not sure how many times he's played for England. I'm not sure if he has recently. But yeah, better options than him. But if he went, I wouldn't complain because there's a lot of people that are 50-50, same sort of level, don't offer that much different to each other. So if he goes, I won't complain. If he doesn't, it is what it is. John Stones naturally probably had the best season for English centre back this year, especially because he was out of favour for the past couple of seasons. Having Ruben Dias next to him has helped a lot because Ruben Dias is that solid, that proper rock-like centre back. No nonsense centre back. And that's helped him a lot. And luckily, that's the sort of defender that Harry Maguire is as well. So that as a 2 could work quite well. I do think Southgate will end up probably playing 3 centre backs, so they're all more comfortable because they're probably not as good enough to play in a 2. But this is what I would pick. I would just, we've got a lot of attacking players. Let's play to our strengths. Stick with 4 at the back. The best 4 that we've got, which I think this is, probably our 4 best in each position. And hope for the best going forward, kind of. But yeah, as a back 5, I would say that's pretty solid. As solid as it can get with what we've got available. But there's still some other places in the squad for other defenders. So Connor Cody seems like a top lad. Very likeable, good personality when I've seen him talk in interviews. Decent player as well. But I don't think I would take him. Which might be a bit harsh, but I don't want to take too many centre-backs or too many defenders at the expense of more attacking players. I'd rather have more options going forward. As long as you got enough cover in case of suspensions and injuries, which I will make sure I have in the squad. Don't want to take too many and waste up positions for players that aren't really going to make a difference. Connor Cody's not going to have a tournament where if he plays really well, we're going to win. Him at his best doesn't take us to the next level. So, him staying, not too fussed about that. Eric Dyer, I think the guy's very overrated. I think the fact that you can play in midfield and defence helps, but just because you can play in 2 positions poorly doesn't mean you're versatile. So, I wouldn't take Eric Dyer. I didn't trust him. Even though he scored that penalty in the shootout against Colombia, there's a place in my heart for you, Eric Dyer, but not a place in my team. This is a controversial pick, so probably more so than taking Saka. Tomori, for me, I would take because I think out of all the other centre-backs, he's probably got the highest ceiling in terms of, Mings and Cody and Keane. He's young, so looking to the future. He's playing for AC Milan, which I think a lot of the other defenders wouldn't be able to do. He's got leadership qualities. He's a good centre-back. I'm surprised Chelsea loaned him out. I mean, we've got a lot of centre-backs options, but as long as AC Milan don't sign him permanently, I would like to see him get more game time next season for Chelsea. But I like him a lot, and I would trust him more, especially knowing that he's playing for a very good side in AC Milan. I'd trust him more than a Michael Keane or Connor Cody. So for me, he goes. If he had to come in, I'd feel pretty comfortable and confident with him. His Konsa, another player, I think he's a really good year. along with Mings. Arguably, some might say he's better than Tyrone Mings. But he's yet to play for England. He hasn't got that experience of playing at the top level yet, whether that's Champions League or international football. So too risky to take him. So leave him out. Same can be said for the likes of Holgate, who good little player, good Premier League standard player. Not sure he's England quality, so he can stay. And same with Ben Godfrey. He's been a good signing for Everton. I think he's played really well. But yeah, like, don't want to take too many defenders, and got enough options. So, sorry, mate, not in my team. And then Ben White, similar sort of story, decent little player, not international quality, so you can stay at home. Declan Rice, I think pretty much everyone's taking. He's probably one of the first names on the England team sheet because there's not many people that can play that role for England. The holding, defensive-minded, solid midfielder. So he starts for me. A lot of responsibility on him because I'm going to be picking a lot of attacking players. So he's going to have to be very, very defense-minded, very solid. But yeah, I think he's a really good player. No coincidence that as he's developing, West Ham have gone from relegation battlers to fighting for top four. Souček has a lot to do with that as well as a midfield partnership, but a lot of it is down to Declan Rice. So I like him a lot. The fact that if needed, he can probably drop back into defence. I wouldn't want to do that, but you know, he's versatile, so it's good to have. Like him a lot. Straight in the team. Harry Winks. I said a few years ago when he burst onto the scene and was playing for Tottenham and got into the England team, I never really thought much about him. You're always, when I think of him, I think of like Tom Cleverley. Like, have a good season, everyone hypes him up, but he'll end up at like a mid-table Premier League team or fighting relegation, then get relegated to Championship, and he'll be in there. Like, that's just where I see him. I don't think he's that good. So, Winksy, you can stay home. The opposite can be said for Jude Bellingham, who's like, 18? Playing Champions League football, playing for Borussia Dortmund. He knows what it's like to play at a high level. So you want them sort of players in your team. And he's young, one for the future. He will be playing for England for years to come, without a shadow of a doubt. So 100% for me, he has to go. He's one of our most, looking forward, generational talent. Why would you not take him? Get him in the England setup as quick as possible. Get him used to playing. So in future tournaments, when he's fully developed, he's ready. Jesse Lingard has had a good second half of the season on loan. I don't think anyone expected this from him. So fair play for that. And he still had a decent World Cup. He was part of our team that got to the semi-final. But the options that we have going forward, I'd feel uncomfortable taking him over some of the other players. So for that reason, despite the form he's on, I wouldn't take him. Jack Grealish, obviously, has been injured quite a bit recently. But from what he showed at the start of the season, where he was arguably going to go towards Player of the Year, if you're looking at players that can make a difference in the tournament, and if we're going to win, who you're looking to perform, he's that sort of player where if he's on it, if he plays really well and has, plays to the best that he can, England have a good chance. So not only for me does he go, he starts for me. I know for Villa he plays like on the left wing. I'm sort of playing him as like a left centre mid. But I mean for Villa as well, he's just all over. He floats. You see him on the right, see him on the left. He comes deep. So I can see him being deeper and then driving forward. He's so good at driving with the ball. It's what you need, someone like that who can just transition from back to front. Given the ball, he'll take on people, get the ball further forward, and they can feed other people in front of him. So for me, he starts. John Henderson, he's missed a lot of the season, which doesn't help him. But in terms of our squad, I think he's the best leader we have. I would like to see him be England captain, but the only reason that he probably isn't is because I don't think he's a guaranteed starter. If he started, I probably wouldn't complain because he offers different, skill sets that other players don't have. So if he starts, I wouldn't mind. But there's other people that I'd rather see in front of him for England. So as an option, obviously great to even bring on if you're trying to shore things up. Um, and as a squad player, the legs he's got, he has to go realistically. So he's right in there for me. Phil Foden, everything I said about Grealish is true for Foden. If you're looking at players that, if they have a banging tournament, can make a difference, 100% for him. If he plays at the level that I hope he will, we've got a very good chance because he's that good. Like, proper generational talent. Can play anywhere across the front three, probably even deeper if he wants. Played at a false nine. Um, straight in my team. Reason I put him on the right is obviously being left-footed. Playing on the right, he can come inside on his left. I've seen him do that a lot for Man City. Even though recently I've seen him play most of his stuff on the left. As long as we've got a front three, or not even front three, like front five that can alternate and is more fluid, he can get the ball wherever he wants. Like, he's that good. I just want to see him on the ball as much as possible. As the same with Grealish. Moving on to other young English talent, Mason Mount, I think, has been Chelsea's best player this year. I don't think many people would argue. What I like about him is, again, he can play deeper. Sometimes he can sit alongside a Kante at Chelsea, and other times you see him as far forward, playing on either wing or a bit more central, running into the box. So for me, he definitely starts for England, guaranteed starter. I'd play him there, and I guess what I would say, he'd probably have to be a bit more disciplined. So at all times, I would say have probably two people back. Declan Rice just sitting there constantly, doesn't even think about going forwards, and then either a Grealish or a Mount, just there alongside him, with license to go forward if needed. Um, he's got legs as well. He'll track back, he'll tackle, he'll fight. Sort of player you just wanted your team with the passion as well. Yeah, I don't know, why would you not want someone like Mason Mount starting for you? Obviously, if you support Arsenal or Tottenham, you don't like Chelsea. Oh, it's Mount should be starting, but you'd want someone like that playing for your team. Like, generally think he's world class. I think pretty much all teams in the world would take him. Has to start. Dele Alli, from the potential that he had back in the day to where he is now, it's quite sad to see. Could have been like an England saviour, but alas, I do not think that is going to be the case. Maybe now that Mourinho's gone, he might flourish again. But based on the season he's had and other options available, he's got to stay at home, which is a shame. Calvin Phillips, it's a weird one because I think he's a good player for Leeds. I've seen him play. I like him, but I still have my doubts whether he's international quality. I should be starting for England in a major tournament. But because we don't have any options in that position, I would take him there as an option. If say Rice were to get injured, which would be catastrophic because he's sort of the only one that can do that role, you'd have to probably pay a Cameron Phillips and a Henderson just to, make up for that. So as an option to take, bear in mind we're very limited in centre mid department, I would take him. Ward Prowse, on the other hand, I would not. I think he's had an okay year. Southampton had a great start, and I'm sure they've had a couple injuries like Romeu, maybe a couple other people, and then they went from top. Remember, they were top at one point to like they're just outside of relegation zone now. So it shows they weren't high up because of him. They're missing other people. I don't think he's nothing special. Decent Premier League level player, not international quality. So he can stay at home. He's good on set pieces, but plenty of other people in our squad that can do that. So we don't need to take someone just to take free kicks and corners. Maddison, he's probably had his best ever season, and he's clearly a top player. Uh, so I think it's quite harsh of me to say he's not going to go. But if I'm looking at Mount, Grealish, Foden, I don't think he offers much more to what they do. Some of them are very similar players. So if you were to take off a Grealish and put him on, does that change anything? Like I like having if something's not working, different options in terms of styles. Um, so for that reason, he misses out just because I'd rather have different styles, different options on the bench or starting even. I've still got a couple of starting places left. But if he goes, I wouldn't complain. I'd only complain if he went at the expense of a Grealish, Mount, or Foden. Then I would complain. But if they all go, I would not complain at all. Maybe he could go over, say, like a Saka. So, we'll see what Southgate decides. Chamberlain, not much to say. He just doesn't go. Doesn't warrant it on form, ability. We'd hoped a couple of years ago that joining Liverpool, playing centre mid where he wanted to play, he would develop. Hasn't worked out. He'll end up at like West Ham in a couple of years probably. Ross Barkley, similar sort of story. Went on loan, showed with hopes to go to Euros. Showed a lot of promise with Grealish at Villa early on against like Liverpool and Arsenal. Played really well, but he's been injured in and out of the team. Hasn't really kicked on from then. Better players in his position, so he just doesn't go. Raheem Sterling, I've been very disappointed with this year. Considering past years he's been scoring loads of goals, getting loads of assists. He's up there with like Salah numbers most other years. He's been poor this year. I've always said with Sterling, he's the sort of player if he doesn't score or assist, if he doesn't put numbers up, I don't know what he offers. He's not someone that's really good on the ball and picks up the ball a lot and gives it to players, gets teams ticking. Like for example, Hazard didn't always score as many goals as Salah or get as many assists as say like Ozil or De Bruyne, but he was involved in everything. He just made us tick. Sterling's not that guy. So when he's not putting up numbers, he can be a passenger, and I don't want passengers in my team. So luckily for him, the squad went from 23 to 26, so that's helped him because otherwise, I thought about leaving him. Like he's been that disappointing, but obviously, on his day he's world class. So and he's a great option to have. For me, other people have had better seasons and have better ceilings than him. So maybe controversial. Most people would say he's a starter, and I'm sure before the season everyone would have had him as him and Kane first two names on the team sheet. But things change. And I still think Gareth Southgate will start him. I think he's got his favourites. But there's other people I'd rather see in the starting lineup. Me personally. So yeah, on the bench for me. Talking to people that I'd rather see in front of him. Rashford, I think he's had a really good year. He scores. He does get assists. He can beat players. He's fast. He's the sort of player as well. I mentioned about Grealish and Foden. If he is on it, he's the sort of player where he can be one of the reasons why we win the tournament. If he has a really good tournament, he's the sort of player you look for something special. I think he's capable of that. So for me, he goes. I've put him on the left because he plays much better on the left for United than when he's on the right. Hence why Foden's on the right. Seeing him alternate with Kane and go down the middle, if Kane drops deep, that works as well. You want to have someone that can sort of play striker in case they get chances. So the fact that if Kane drops deep, you can have Rashford running and beyond, Mount, Grealish and Foden running on beyond, really attacking, which is what we want to see. I'd rather see England go for it, play attacking football, and then go out trying rather than, playing Phillips, Rice, Henderson, trying to be defensive and still losing. Because I don't think with them playing, we can win the tournament with Henderson, Rice and Phillips playing. But I think if we go for it, play attacking football and just try to beat teams, outscore teams, I think we can win. Play to our strengths. Man City have proved it. Like, they play with one holding midfielder. For years they had Fernandinho, Rodri there, and Silva and De Bruyne in centre mid. So I know some of our players aren't of that quality, but there's no reason why we can't adopt that sort of philosophy with England. I would love to see it as well. Us play fluid, attacking football. Since I've watched England, I've never seen that really. We've always been try and sit back and holding midfielders and maybe counter. I want to see us on the ball, beating teams. It's a whole shift of philosophy, which I'm going for here. Moving on anyway. Danny Ings. Good player. Like him a lot. Wouldn't mind if he went because I think he's a really good finisher. But in terms of, I said before, I want different styles and different options on the bench. I don't think he offers that much different to what Harry Kane would in terms of finishing. He's not an aerial presence. He's not the fastest or the strongest. So for that reason, he doesn't go for me. I think there's better options available. Jadon Sancho, I think he's too good not to take, even though that position there might be a few better people better than him in the England squad. There's undoubtedly, he's got tons of ability. He's still very young as well. Doing really well for Dortmund. Fair enough. I would say reason why I would start him is I've never seen him play well for England, which is a big factor. Still a very good player, and for me, he has to go. It'd be strange not to take someone of his ability. Calvert-Lewin. So the reason why I'm not taking Ings is why I would take Calvert-Lewin. He offers something different to what Kane does. Really good in the air. So, comes late on, you need to put balls into the box. He can hold the ball up as well. He's still pretty fast for someone that's quite big, strong. I like him a lot. I think he had a really good year for Everton. For a team that they don't have many goal scorers, he's been pretty consistent for them. So no one else really chips in for goals, which is Everton's problem, but he's been pretty consistent all year. So yeah, he goes for me. Bamford, he's the sort of player where I think he's maybe like a 6 out of 10 level, playing at a 7 or 8 out of 10 currently. Like, I don't think he's that good. He's had a good year, but I think the way Leeds play helps him a lot, gets a lot of chances. So naturally he's going to score goals. But I don't think he's better than Calvert-Lewin or Harry Kane or a couple of other people. And he still gets paid for England, so he's not ready for that sort of step up. So I wouldn't take him. Ollie Watkins actually played and scored for England recently. So I can imagine him actually going. But I don't think he's England quality. Still think there's better options available. Don't think he offers much different to what Calvert-Lewin would. So why would you take both? Surely it's one or the other. And I think Calvert-Lewin's better, got more potential, so he goes in. Talking about styles, Mason Greenwood for me, I take him. I think a lot of people probably might not, but he's young. He can play up front and out wide, which helps being versatile. In terms of finishing, right foot, left foot, really good. Sort of player that if you need a goal, you bring him on, you can see him getting a chance and being clinical, and that's what you kind of want as an impact off the bench. Because I can't see him starting over anyone else I've got in my team. So good option. Like I said, out wide if we need him. If Kane or Calvert-Lewin both got injured, he can play up front. Don't need to take the likes of Watkins and Ings. He can cover that sort of role, and he's got an option coming from the right, so I like him a lot. Tammy, the one thing that people have been saying is, Tuchel's been disrespecting Abraham. He should be playing more. I fully agree with Tuchel. Abraham's not good enough for Chelsea. He's a mid-table Premier League striker. That's his level. Someone like a Welbeck had a couple good years at United and went to Arsenal, but I don't think he's never like a top level striker that should be playing in the Champions League. And he's ended up at Watford and now Brighton. But I don't think he's as good as that. Welbeck was actually good in his day. When Tammy Abraham, I think is nowhere near that. He scored a lot of goals last year, but against newly promoted teams who's comfortable playing because he scored most of his goals in the championship. Um, I wouldn't expect much from him in a big game, especially because most strikers they've got one attribute that is theirs. You can be fast, you can be strong, technical, good hold up, good in the air. Good. What is he good at? I don't know. Like maybe I'm a hater. Seems like a nice guy off the pitch, good personality. I like him a lot as a human being, but I don't like him as a footballer. So for me, stays at home. Callum Wilson has had a good year for Newcastle, especially considering Newcastle going forward over years have been pretty poor. Don't play very attacking football, but he scored quite a lot of goals, and there's no doubt he's a very good striker. But does he offer much more to who already got included? Probably not. Um, so yeah, I mean he's played and scored for England, I'm pretty sure, but I wouldn't take him. And last but not least, obviously Harry Kane. He's England captain. He's definitely going to go, and he's definitely going to start. I don't think there's anybody who wouldn't start Harry Kane, unless you've got an agenda against him because he's our best player. He can score goals. He gets assists. He's not one dimensional as well. The guy is just all around fantastic footballer. I don't know why you wouldn't start him. I don't think he should be captain. I don't think he's captain material. The guy can barely talk, barely speak English, but he does his talking on the pitch, which is what I like. Which is why he's in my team, and he's the main man. If we're gonna win the tournament, we need Harry Kane to have a good tournament. We need him to score goals. If he doesn't have a good tournament, we don't have a chance. So yeah, we need a lot of people to perform at their best. We need a good tournament from Foden, Grealish, Kane. We need our defenders to just basically not fuck up. Just keep it simple. If in doubt, get it out. None of this nonsense, dilly dallying on the ball. That's the worst one. When you can see goals where the opposing team hasn't even worked for it. Goals that you give to them are the worst, and a lot of our players here are capable of doing that. As long as they're solid, Rice does his job at protecting them. We get a lot of legs out of the likes of Grealish, Mount, Foden, Rashford, and they all chip in. That's the thing. We've got how many goals do we have in this team? Grealish, goals and assists this year, crazy. Mount always contributes. Foden, fantastic. Kane, top goal scorer in the league, probably top assist as well. Rashford as well chips in. If you play all of these, we will score goals. Like there's no doubt. It might be a bit imbalanced, it's very top heavy. But we should play to our strengths. If we play this team and we went out, at least we say, we gave it a go. If we play, like I said, Henderson and Phillips in at the expense of Mount or Foden or Grealish, and we play negative football and we can't create chances, like in the recent England games I've seen, there was one game, I think it was against Denmark, it was like 0-0, and it was probably the most boring game I've ever seen. I don't want to see that with England. I want to just try and play good football. At the end of the day, I'm a fan. I want to be entertained. I want to win, but I want to be entertained as well. This team is entertaining. So yeah, I mean that's my team. A lot of people disagree. It's another thing as well. Issue Southgate's got so much options, so many talent that wherever he picks, people are going to be disappointed. There's no way he's gonna pick this team, so I'm going to be disappointed. Yeah, only he knows what he's going to pick and how he's going to play. I'm interested to see who he leaves out. Luckily, it's gone from 23 to 26 man squad, so he's got 3 extra slots, so that helps a lot, because otherwise he probably would have had to cut a couple of extra people that he would want to have taken. Maybe like there was a point he probably wasn't going to take Trent. Now he's got extra free spaces, Trent will probably go. So yeah, let's wait and see. When he releases it, I think the deadline's still quite a while away. So if I feel like it, I might do another video talking about his team. But this is mine. Let me know what you think. Any other changes? And yeah, see you in a video soon.